How the hell am I going to review this thing? The movie's a 3-hour spoiler. Blade Runner 2049 is a science fiction noir film directed by Denis Villeneuve and is the sequel to Ridley Scott's seminal 1982 film Blade Runner. The movie stars Ryan Gosling, Jared Leto, Dave Bautista, Robin Wright, Ana de Armas, Mackenzie Davis, Sylvia Hoeks, Carla Juri, and Harrison Ford. 30 years after the events of the first film, a new Blade Runner, LAPD Officer K, unearths a long-buried secret that has the potential to plunge what's left of society into chaos. K's discovery leads him on a quest to find Rick Deckard, a former LAPD Blade Runner who has been missing for 30 years. First off, I just want to say, about a week ago, I watched the original Blade Runner, I watched the final cut, because I wanted it to be fresh in my mind before going into this one. 2049 is an excellent sequel. First off, I think the film can stand on its own. If you haven't seen Blade Runner, I still think you can appreciate this film. Obviously, it's better if you've seen the original. But what I liked about this sequel is that it functions as its own movie. It's not there to set up a big franchise. It's a very satisfying sequel because it looks and feels like the original Blade Runner. LA is still really grimy and the color palette's still very washed out. It's got enough callbacks to the original to be satisfying, but not so many as to be distracting. And while it has similar elements to the original, I know a lot of people complained about this movie right here being a direct remake of Star Wars. This movie has similar elements to the original, but it's a completely different story. It's got a good mix of CGI and practical. This uses CGI where it needs to, but it really does have a good blend, and it does make it feel a lot like the original film. While this movie takes place 30 years after the original, obviously the tech has been upgraded. The Voight Kampff test, for one, no longer has like a bellows and the thing with the eye. It more looks like the flashy thing from Men in Black. And yet then somebody will go and look at a computer screen and it looks like MS-DOS. So there have been advancements, but not to the point where it feels like a different universe. And like the original, it's got a really, really diverse cast. That's what I expect LA to be like in 2049. So let's talk about the acting first. Ryan Gosling is really good in this film. He's mostly deadpan, which works for his character. He does break it a couple of times, but for the most part, he's pretty stoic. He's got a very steely exterior, but you can tell, like, what he does just with his eyes, you can tell he's a broken dude inside. Harrison Ford proves he's still got chops. For the last few years, kind of all he's been doing is the mumbling, grumpy old man. That's not how the Force works, you know? This movie, no. He goes places that I haven't seen him go in quite a long time, and it was quite refreshing. Jared Leto is barely in this film. He's probably in this film less than he was in Suicide Squad. But he does a good job. He's appropriately creepy. He's got a bit of a god complex, and it works for the flick. Dave Bautista, again, barely in this movie. But what he does in this movie is good. You know, I've pretty much only seen him in Guardians, where he's mostly just hilarious, although in Guardians 2 he did have that one moment. But here it's a quieter performance, but it was good. I really dug it. Robin Wright is, Robin Wright's awesome, and she's solid as always here. My actual favorite performance in the movie was Ana de Armas, who the whole time throughout the movie I was like, I know this girl, I recognize that face, where do I know her from? It was driving me nuts. I finally looked it up, and yeah, I don't know her at all. But she plays Joy, who I don't want to say much about the character, but she's friends with Ryan Gosling's character, and she's absolutely amazing in this movie. She broke my heart many, many times just with her facial expressions. Amazing. There's not a lot of music in this film. It's there, but it's not overly used. I don't remember it being overly used in the first one either. Now, in the first one, the music was done by the Greek composer Vangelis. Here, it's Benjamin Wallfisch, who did It most recently, and Hans Zimmer, who did every other movie that's ever come out. And it harkens back to the original score very well. It's very synth-heavy, it's pounding at times, and sometimes, and I thought this was really cool, sometimes the music really just sounds like revving engines, like the sounds of a living industrial city. Very cool. There is a sex scene in this film. I don't even want to call it a sex scene. It's the lead up to a sex scene. The sex takes place off camera. I guess it's more of a love scene, but it is one of the most inventive, beautiful sex love scenes I've seen, and I think it's going to be remembered for a very, very, very long time. The implications it makes about humanity and the themes of the movie are really fascinating. Plus, like I said, it's just really cool, it's very inventive, it's also very beautiful, and very, very sad. And the way it plays out visually is absolutely stunning. Now, the cinematography was done by Roger Deakins, who you might recognize for Shawshank Redemption, Barton Fink, Sid and Nancy, The Big Lebowski, Fargo, Dead Man Walking, A Beautiful Mind, House of Sand and Fog, No Country for Old Men. You get the point. The cinematography in this film is gorgeous. It's a visual feast. Every frame is a work of art. Like the original and also fairly recently Westworld, this film asks questions like what it is to be human, what it is to have a soul, and it doesn't easily just give out answers. Like the best sci-fi, it's not an easy movie. It makes you work, it makes you think, and it does not package everything in a neat little bow. Now, whenever I have the unfortunate situation of seeing a movie in 3D, I hate 3D, I can't stand it, but it was my only option for this flick. I like to try and talk about whether or not the 3D was worth it. Whether or not I think you should spend the extra money to see it in 3D. Does the movie do something different with it, something inventive? Well, the answer for this one, surprisingly, is no. The 3D was not dynamic in this movie at all. In fact, a lot of times I kept thinking, I don't even see anything in 3D right now, and then I would take off the 3D glasses, and everything looked on screen just looked normal, like they hadn't really made these things 3D. There was one scene that was actually really visually awesome. And it's just a shot looking at Robin Wright through a window. It's pouring rain outside, and the rain coming down the window is like right up in your face. And that was cool. I've never quite seen that. But that's about 4 seconds. So for an extra $5-6, in my opinion, it's not worth it unless you're a huge 3D head. I would say see it in 2D, but hey, you do you. Having said that, I will say, if you're thinking, I want to check this movie out, but maybe I'll wait for Blu-ray, go see it in the theater. Like I said, this is a visual feast. You need to see it on the big screen, or at least on the medium screen, like those cheapo depot theaters. Trust me, it'll be worth it. The film is a slow burn. It never gets boring because it's so visually interesting, even when there's not a lot of dialogue and someone is just walking. The things you're seeing are so cool that you're not bored. I personally think it was a bit too long. I think it's about 2 hours and 43 minutes. There's not a lot you could have cut, but if they could have got it down to even 2 hours, 30 minutes, I think that would have been a little bit better. That's a minor quibble. All in all, I really love this film, and I think it's one of the better sci-fi movies to come along in quite a long time. Now, I don't have a proprietary rating system as of yet, so I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to give Blade Runner 2049. And I think I'm going to give Blade Runner 2049 a...
Tortoise? What's that?
You know what a turtle is?
Of course.
Same thing.
Out of 10. But now I want to know, have you seen Blade Runner 2049? What did you think? What do you think of the original? What is your favorite cut? Is it the theatrical, the director's, the final, one of the myriad other cuts? What's your favorite cut of Blade Runner? Whatever your thoughts, hit the comments below, let's discuss. If you enjoyed this review, please smash that like button and give it a share if you really enjoyed it. And hey, why not subscribe to my channel for more movie reviews, entertainment news, trailer reactions, all that good stuff. If you'd like to subscribe, you can do so by clicking the Courtshake logo at the bottom right of your screen. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.